Hey, Bankless Nation, we've got a special quick hit episode. Now, David and I are not journalists, we're not reporters, but look, this is worth diving into. We've got Stani from the AAVE protocol, and we're talking to him. Right now, he's currently resides in Twitter jail. So his account has just been banned. Stani, how's Twitter jail going for you? Like, what's going on here?
Well, thanks for having me here, David and Ryan. But not very well, to be honest. There's no one to talk to here. I feel like I don't have any audience. I had all my audience in Twitter, and I got banned, and I don't know who to talk to. So
Well, you can talk to us. And so far, YouTube has not banned the Bankless channel. Hopefully, that is
Not
not
yet.
coming in the
No.
future. Fingers crossed. We want to talk about like what happened and how like Elon buying Twitter fits into this, what we can do, how to solve this from a long-term perspective. But just a few things for Bankless listeners. Okay, so if you're not up to speed, Elon Musk finally bought Twitter this week. So that is a thing that happened. Stani got banned for making a joke about this question mark. We're not actually sure why he got banned.
No due
Let's start
process.
there. No due process. Let's start there, Stani. To the best of your ability, like, do you understand why you actually got banned? I'm gonna pull up some tweets that may have triggered this whole banning event. Let me pull that up now, Stani. But what happened here?
mm. Well, in general, it's kind of like a hard to always say, of course, because when you look at the Web2 social media platforms, you get a ban or suspension or whatever you call it, and essentially there's not much of actual reasoning there. So you might have some reason, but there isn't like specifically because you kind of don't know actually how the system works because it's essentially a black box. You don't even know who was the person or like and what time the ban happened. So there is like very less least amount of information. But I think I have an idea of essentially that recently with all this kind of like Elon buying Twitter and advocating for freedom of speech, which is something that is very valuable to me quite a lot. I kind of like posted in the same way that Elon Musk posts and jokes on Twitter with his audience, and I did it with my audience. And I joked that finally this is happening, and the breaking here is that I'm joining Twitter as interim CEO, which was kind of like a funny joke because obviously Twitter has a CEO, and there's no news about change of that position. So I also posted. Actually, I was very went further, and I posted even a roadmap. So for me, it's very important if I start something or I take a position, even if I joke about it, I need to always have a roadmap. So I'm a builder, and essentially I messaged that I want to ship the edit button by next week, and including my 90 days roadmap. I also wanted to open source the Twitter algorithms because that makes things more kind of like understandable. I could understand, for example, why I got banned, adding support for Ethereum and NAS, and last but not least, integrating with Lens protocol and making Twitter more kind of like a decentralized as a platform. So I guess like this was the thing, and I think a few hours later, I saw that these tweets went viral, and essentially I found that my account was blocked. So
So
Wow.
the blocking part, of course, is the interesting part of the story. But I want to pick your brain as to why you think Twitter would go so far as to actually ban or block you. Because, like, I don't know, can Twitter A, not take a joke, or B, do they actually feel threatened by what you are saying you could do as the potential interim CEO of Twitter, if you were the interim CEO of Twitter? Do you feel that Twitter might be threatened by this whole proposition of integration with a Web3 protocol like Lens?
I think it's the edit button, getting it shipped so fast. I think that was
I hear they
the
like to be relaxed at Twitter. I hear they don't like to ship
yeah.
things too fast.
Yeah, I mean, I would say kind of like the maybe the challenge also is here that it's definitely kind of like hard to say like what other folks that are they have like a big amount of followers and what they can actually post and what's serious, what's not. I mean, recently, Elon tweeted about buying Coca-Cola and putting cocaine into it back, and those kind of things. And for me, I pretty much joke with the CEO tweet, and so for some reason I got banned. So I think it's just like kind of like unfair, but also kind of, it wouldn't be unfair if those algorithms would be public and we could understand and there's transparency, but also it wouldn't be unfair if I just could go to another platform and have my followers there and just like solve the issue by actually, putting these, platforms into the state that they kind of like curate and moderate and compete on the best curation. But in this case with Twitter, essentially I don't own anything. All the audience is there, and I honestly, I've been advocating this for quite a long period of time, but now that it happened directly to me with this joke, and I didn't realize that this could lead to this kind of end result. The worst part is that's not just like losing your followers there and locking in, but also all my private messages, I couldn't access them at all. So that's kind of like a issue.
You're silenced.
Really,
you've been silenced.
Yeah, it really impresses on you that you look, if you're on Twitter, any social media account for that matter, you don't actually own the property there, right? You don't own the list of your followers. It's completely private property. And we are viewing the actual tweets on YouTube. And I just want to recap this, okay? So this is innocent. This is innocent AF. This is like even wholesome. It's funny. Stani tweets, breaking, joining Twitter as interim CEO, clearly an Elon Musk style joke. And then as a follow-up, he offers an actual like tongue-in-cheek list of solutions of what Twitter should be implementing moving forward. If I'm on the product team of Twitter, I'm like jotting some of this stuff down potentially. And he says this, thank you for the opportunity to work at Twitter. My first agenda in the roadmap for the first 90 days is ship an edit button, open source the Twitter algos, add support for ENS and Ethereum, integrate with Lens protocol. I ask you, the viewer, is this a bannable offense on Twitter? Like, what is going on? No due process, no explanation as to why. This is not a threat of violence in any way, shape, or form, or incitement of violence. How does this break the policy of Twitter? These are some of the questions I have. But let's jump to the next kind of, I guess, take on this is now this is Elon Musk's problem, isn't it? Because Elon Musk just majority purchased all of Twitter, which makes him kind of the governance vote for everything that happens on this platform. Musk has talked a lot about free speech. And of course, look, I don't know, what is he, day 3 or something, day 2 on the job, whatever, right? He probably hasn't been able to influence things. But how do you feel about this, Stani? Is this now Musk's problem? And can he actually fix this? How might he go about doing it? Do you think he's serious about fixing it?
I think it's a bit of like everyone's problem. I see the social media when it comes to moderation, censorship, and like the ownership from kind of like a perspective where social media is such a valuable infrastructure. As if you go back to history before social media in general, whether it's like TV channels, newspapers, and all the way to those townhouses and halls and bazaars. So basically, you always have some sort of a kind of like a venue where you are actually sharing information, and you have your audience, and you share that audience with the rest of the community. And I think that as an infrastructure, it's very important to not to be kind of like in complete control of few or particularly even like a company. So I think just we reached that state that has happened before, and the platforms take very opinionated decisions. We went from something like what was MySpace and GeoCities, where you could like adjust and tweak your profiles, and you have a lot of freedom, into something where a lot of things are opinionated, and where what you can actually change. And then of course the moderator on top of that. There's a reason, of course, for moderation, but it's very subjective. So there isn't competition of whose moderation is the most like least harmful. And I think as social media is infrastructure, very valuable and important because it's a communication channel. with you and your own peers and your audience. I think it just has to be in form of a public good where you create your profile, you have your followings, but then you can actually port them everywhere else. So if someone moderates or over moderates or bans you in one particular application, you can go into another venue and you can still have that accessibility. For sure, you can limit that accessibility on the kind of like application experience layer, but as a kind of like a very grounded human right, you should be able to have that, because if you don't have voice, especially when you have a big audience and you lose that voice, you lose everything. For me, Twitter was the only platform where I have public facing audience. I have an Instagram, but that's very private, and for me, kind of like I didn't have any communication channels besides messaging in messaging applications. So I think it's everyone's problem, but the question is like how we actually can govern it very well. And I think community-owned protocol might be the way to do it, because it also frees and lowers the barrier to enter and create those kind of like a new moderation tools for the whole community, since you don't need to focus on creating that platform effect, since the user is owning their networks.
And there's some sort of beautiful irony here about Twitter banning you, particularly, Stani, because you are somebody who thinks very deeply about how our social media protocols should be designed, and where their weaknesses, how their weaknesses are currently manifested in the Web 2 world. And we have also seen Elon Musk dabble in the world of Web 3. He loves to pay attention to Dogecoin, which is like almost Web 3. He knows what Ethereum is. He knows the basics of this. Are you optimistic that Elon Musk might actually look into the fundamentals of what Web3 is and why it has drawn so much excitement from the world around it, and perhaps use his platform, use his now majority share over Twitter to turn Twitter into something like Web3?
I very, very much hope so, because there's just so much value added in Web3. Pretty much like even if you think about protocols, on-chain protocols with different kinds of rules, whether it's decentralized finance or Web3 social media, or something else. So it's very valuable and efficient way to actually provide the ownership to the users. But also, if you kind of like approach the whole idea of who is the epicenter, most valuable kind of like a stakeholder in social media, it's pretty much the users. And the way we have built social media is that we extract a lot of data from the users and then pretty much use that data and algorithms to essentially sell different kinds of services to the user. And this is the kind of like a very classical saying comes from, where the user is the product actually when you're using something for free, or you're giving up a lot of data that you're not getting paid for or anything in return. And in terms of like Web3 social, you can actually, we turn around this mechanism in a way where the user is actually the one who owns its own network, and then these applications, experience layers, algorithms are actually competing to provide the best services, bringing transparency and other values. So, for example, the most interesting social media in the future might not be the one where you can actually accumulate a lot of followers, but it might be a new way of interacting content. And that's possible because some person, for example, in India or let's say Argentina, could actually come and build that application, and that application gets traction because it gets a lot of visibility, because you don't need to recreate the whole platform network effect, and basically the user is the important factor here. So I definitely think it changes everything in the whole social media game. But at the same time, changing something big like Twitter requires a lot of work in terms of the mindset of how you get the whole organization behind of the Web3 and everything, all the way from finance, all your compliance departments and the leadership to actually think differently. That's going to be the hardest part.
So if Elon needed some help understanding all of this stuff, would you be the guy to ask, Stani?
Yeah, I think essentially it's more about the whole community in general, because if you look at the Lens protocol and people that has been contributed to the protocol itself, there's sort of developers already directly contributing to the protocol, creating small updates. There's different front ends being built, and the protocol itself is going to mainnet quite soon. So it's actually a community, a forum where you can get help, and the code is open source, so you can always use it, integrate, or even fork it, improve it, or do ever what you do, because it's public good. But I think we're just one source of information, and we haven't solved everything that there is in Web3 social. What we created is a decentralized social graph, but there's so many areas that needs to be solved by the Web3 community in this space. But I'm feeling very optimistic, and I think Web3 user ownership, community ownership, having control of your users is something very valuable, and I think that's the way to go.
Well, we definitely agree with you, Stani, and we think more people should be aware of this issue. And so we are advocating on your behalf, trying to get you out of Twitter jail, and also simultaneously to raise awareness of what's going on with Twitter bans and how they can actually be solved, because crypto and Web3 are building solutions here. So if you listening want to get involved in the FreeStani movement, you could tweet out something with the hashtag FreeStani. I have tweeted this tweet out as an experiment. I'm wondering if I'm about to get banned.
Oh, you're not joining Twitter as an interim CEO, Ryan?
Maybe I will. Maybe we are all CEOs. Maybe that is the Web3 way. I think that's ultimately what we are saying here is we should be CEOs of our own Twitter accounts. So if you want to tweet out breaking, joining Twitter as interim CEO, you can. Let's see if we get banned here. Stani, got to end with this. So what is the process to get unbanned here? Are you going through that process, and do you have any other parting words for us here?
Yeah, I'm basically in the process, and for me, it's going to be quite unclear because I haven't done this ever before. Like it's it's something that you read, and when it happens to you, you're basically quite helpless, in the sense that you have a lot of information that you distribute on a daily basis. But in some way, I'm kind of lucky. It was more me than let's say someone who has like a more larger or critical audience. So I'm pretty sure that maybe my account could be restored. If not, I'm waiting for the Lens protocol mainnet, and I would just continue posting there. So
all right, well, excellent. Stani, thanks for joining us. And if Elon Musk is listening, let's fix this. Let's free Stani. Let's go investigate some better protocols to use for Twitter as a backend. And I'm worried on the behalf of social media platforms that start to ban builders, because you remember what happened when World of Warcraft nerfed Vitalik's necromancer. He built Ethereum. So I think we are building solutions here, and the future looks bright. Hopefully we can fix this soon for the world, Stani. So thanks for joining us, man.
Thank you so much for having me here.
We appreciate it. Guys, if you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe on Bankless. Super excited to have you on the Bankless journey. Take care.
Hey, we hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, head over to Bankless HQ right now to develop your crypto investing skills and learn how to free yourself from banks and gain your financial independence. We recommend joining our daily newsletter, podcast, and community as a Bankless premium subscriber to get the most out of your Bankless experience. You'll get access to our market analysis, our alpha leaks, and exclusive content, and even the Bankless token for airdrops, raffles, and unlocks. If you're interested in crypto, the Bankless community is where you want to be. Click the link in the description to become a Bankless premium subscriber today. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for in-depth interviews with industry leaders, Ask Me Anythings, and weekly roll-ups where we summarize the week in crypto and other fantastic content.